After returning to the inn, Lu Muyen instructed Bing Ji to guard the door, then she arranged an array and began to refine grade 3 spiritual recovery pills. After refining the spiritual energy recovery pills, she began to refine several other types of grade 3 pills for emergency use. Afterwards, she took out the soul-nourishing wood she had obtained and stroked it with her palm. A trace of spiritual energy with green mist wrapped around the branch little by little, and the green energy continued to wound around it. She returned the soul-nourishing wood that was now enveloped in green mist back into the profound ice jade box and closed the lid for preservation. The profound ice jade box was a special container used to hold spiritual herbs and spiritual tools, allowing the spiritual energy and moisture of the spiritual herbs and spiritual tools to not be lost over time. Your green spiritual energy can nourish the soul-nourishing wood? Mo Yen asked when Lu Muyen finished. Using a bit of time to nourish it, spring will return to the dead soul-nourishing wood. Lu Muyen and Mo Yen had long been tied together, so she naturally trusted him very much. Mo Yen also didn't ask much about the green spiritual energy, we'll be going deep into the remote mountains to hunt starting tomorrow. There's only half a month left before the competition ends. When will you be able to break through to Sword Monarch? Mo Yan's cold eyes flashed with a dim light. The leaders of the superpower kingdoms are all at peak phase Sword Monarch. In this space, there's an abundance of spiritual force, and if you're lucky, you can also meet spiritual items. It's not difficult to break through to Sword Sovereign for them. They'll be your rivals. It wasn't easy to survive in this space, not to mention Lu Muyen still had the desire to compete for the top 10. Towards her ambition, Mo Yen actually felt it was admirable. With that strength and potential, why not do it? I should be able to break through in the next few days. I already feel that my bottleneck has loosened. Lu Muyen also hoped that she could break through to Sword Monarch as soon as possible. That way, she could use more means, and even if she faced Sword Sovereign level powerhouses or demonic beasts, she would have confidence to retreat. After you break through, it'll teach you to use a secret skill. You can borrow my power when you encounter a very dangerous situation then. Mo Yen was silent for a moment, then spoke slowly. Lu Muyen was surprised and asked, borrow your power? Are there any disadvantages? It wasn't that the immortal cultivation world didn't have such skills that could borrow the power of spirit pets or other people, but the backlash was huge. Not to mention to themselves, but the damage to the spirit pet was also very big. There naturally will be disadvantages, but it won't backlash. One must be extremely trustworthy of each other, and only people and beasts who can hand over their lives to each other can use it. Mo Yen also didn't conceal it. Lu Muyen's eyes were filled with bright brilliance, and she joked, can Mo Yen give his life to me now? Naturally. Mo Yen answered affirmatively with incomparable seriousness in his eyes. Lu Muyen was a black-bellied and cunning woman, with a domineering attitude that looked down upon this world. She even made him, a king who once had his own territory in the demon realm, be unable to comprehend her, and even made him feel a sense of submission. It wasn't the submission toward strength, but a surrendering to her behavior that pride and domineering, and how she defended her close ones. A willingness to always be her spirit pet and be partners with her. She treated outsiders with indifference and coldness, even cruelty, but she treated those she recognized with her heart. She was generous and protective, shared honor and disgrace, and entrusted each with her life and death. This was also her charisma. Presumably even now, Bing Ji truly recognized her as owner. Lu Muyen was deeply stunned, then a joyous smile from the bottom of her heart blossomed, as if enveloped by the morning light, carrying the beauty of the gleaming reflection of waves in the sunlight. In the future, my life will be entrusted to you, Mo Yen. This was what partners were, entrusting each with their lives and deaths. Mo Yen rolled his eyes at her. This woman sure knew how to say things to please him. Turning to the side, the warm color and tenderness in his eyes didn't dissipate for a long time. The next morning, Lu Muyen was called by Luo Li to Luo Ye's room. When she arrived, Yunzi Mo and the others, together with Helian Lai's elite team, were all sitting there. Lu Muyen, come and sit. Luo Li's originally indifferent face revealed a handsome, sunny smile when he saw Lu Muyen. He patted the empty seat beside him and said. Lu Muyen walked over and sat down. Is this about negotiating an alliance? Helian Lai was also sitting here today, so presumably it was to discuss the matter of forming an alliance to compete for points. Miss Lu is indeed smart. Helian Lai waved the folding fan in his hand with a complete attitude of an amorous. Lu Muyen glanced at him speechlessly and said, since we're already cooperating, then you don't need to call me Miss Lu, just call me Lu Muyen or Muyen. Hearing Miss Lu from Helian Lai's mouth just felt awkward. This guy seemed to be a flirtatious, amorous person, but she felt that this was just a way for him to hide his true colors. Sure, Muyen. Helian Lu wasn't quarrelsome either. If he wanted to befriend Lu Muyen, calling her Muyen felt closer. Luo Li glanced at Helian Lai with dark eyes. No matter how he looked at him, he felt that this little pretty face was an eyesore. He'll talk about the plan after the alliance first. If any of you feel that there is something wrong, you can bring it up. Luo Yi still had a noble temperament, and his voice was as clean and warm as wind. From today onwards, the sword masters of the large kingdoms who have some confidence in the preliminary round are all headed towards the central city. And starting from this city, all the demonic beasts that appear in the forests and plains that we will pass by will all be at least tier 5 or 6 everywhere. This was beneficial for killing and earning points, but it also indicated danger. But no matter how many tier 6 demonic beasts there are, it will still face the situation of having too many people but too little porridge, so the further we go into the central area, we will meet wave after wave of sword masters also traveling. Along the way, situations where those that kill each other to compete for demonic beasts will happen all the time. We will set off in a bit and we 3 teams will form an alliance. I don't want anyone to have dissent, otherwise I will be the first to not let them go. Luo Yi scanned the people present with his eyes like the brightest stars hanging in the sky, causing many sword masters to feel a chill all over their bodies. When the alliance is formed, we will be entrusting each other with our lives and deaths. After terminating it, your freedom will be restored. Luo Yi's slow voice sounded ethereal. If we form an alliance with a sincere heart, then our alliance relationship will finish in the finals, but if our cooperation isn't pleasant, then the alliance will be terminated immediately after the preliminary round. His words were deeply rooted in the hearts of the people. Since they had formed an alliance, they naturally hoped that the other parties would treat each other sincerely. All right. Everyone agreed and no one objected even deep down. Let's go then. Luo Yi stood up and led the people out of the inn. After leaving the city, Lu Muyen found that sword masters kept pouring out of the city, rushing towards the next large city. Along the way, they also encountered several waves of demonic beasts, but before they even warmed up, the demonic beasts were completely killed by sword masters from other kingdoms who had already formed an alliance. Lu Muyen took out her jade tablet for a look. The point rankings on it kept jumping around. She was pushed out of the top 40 in the morning already and was now fluctuating around 43rd. If this continued, she wouldn't even be able to advance into the top 10. She could only take a risk. Previous chapter. That day, the three groups that had formed an alliance didn't gain much. After entering the remote mountain, there were also many sword masters looking for demonic beasts everywhere, and the tier 6 demonic beasts that appeared nearby were practically all killed. GES group had already set off before dawn, competing around, hunting for tier 6 demonic beasts between the two cities, and their ranks jumped quickly. When they saw that Lu Muyen's team's points increased very slowly, they gloatingly guessed that Luo Yi and the others were dragged down Lu Muyen and her team, and secretly cursed serves you right. As night fell, the sword masters flocked to the city ahead of them. This was the second largest city, closest to the central city. It had a much wider area and towering walls, and was a little more solemn than the previous city. During the day, Luo Yi and the others basically didn't do much, so they were still rather energetic. After tidying up the room, they went to a restaurant in the city for dinner together. When a sword master reached Sword King cultivation base, immediate one was possible, so eating was just a habit or to just feel the atmosphere. Because of the presence of Luo Yi's team, although it was crowded in the restaurant, but they were able to book a quiet private room. Lu Muyen, these special dishes of the Stream Reflection restaurant can only be eaten in the 3 big cities in the competition space, have a try. Luo Li picked up some food and placed it in Lu Muyen's bowl, his eyes staring at her brightly, as if asking her for praise. Lu Muyen lowered her head and took a bite, smiled and said, "It does taste pretty good. This dish should be expensive, right?" "How do you know this dish is expensive?" Helian Lai asked with a smile. These special dishes of Stream Reflection restaurant weren't for sale to the public. Only those who could book a private room could order them, and it depended on luck as well as it was limited daily. Lu Muyen came from the small kingdom of Yenzhou, so she naturally wouldn't be able to book a private room, and it didn't look like she had eaten it either. He was very curious about how she guessed the price. These dishes are all cooked with tier 6 demonic beast meat and have added a lot of spiritual herbs and spiritual fruits for taste. After eating, not only is the taste good, but there is a heat flow with elemental energy lingering in the meridians. It's a good thing to replenish your physical strength with. Lu Muyen tasted a few casually and knew exactly what spiritual fruits and spiritual herbs were added to the dish, but she also noted down Stream Reflection restaurant. Back when she and the Yi clan in Luoxi City, Yi Qinghan and the others had introduced her to Stream Reflection restaurant strength, but she didn't expect it to reach this level. She put her chopsticks down and was silent for a moment. "What are you thinking about?" Luo Li saw that she didn't seem to be reminiscing the taste of the dishes. "I suddenly remembered a few friends and I wonder how they are in this competition space." Lu Muyen raised her eyes and said with a light smile. "Friend? Male?" Luo Li blurted out. Lu Muyen nodded, In saying that, she realized that she didn't really know many female friends. Though she had a good relationship with was only Yi Qinglu, and she couldn't help but sigh that her relationship with women just wasn't good. Luo Li's long and narrow eyes flickered, then he changed the topic. "It seems that we have to leave the city early tomorrow, otherwise the demonic beasts would all be snatched by them. You won't earn any points if you go out of the city during the day, why don't we just travel at night?" Lu Muyen suggested enthusiastically. If they wanted to obtain, then they naturally had to pay with something. It wasn't easy to advance into the top 10. Now, in order to earn points quickly, they could only take the night road and find beast tides to kill. The night road here isn't easy to travel. Even a small beast tide is difficult to deal with, basically composed of tier 6 demonic beasts. Helian Lai also wanted to earn points, but he remained rational. It wasn't difficult for their group to deal with less than 100 tier 6 demonic beasts, but if they encountered 300 or 400 tier 6 demonic beasts, they definitely could only run for their lives. Lu Muyen tapped the table lightly with her finger. "I have a way to deal with small and medium-sized beast tides. Large beast tides can be avoided, so it's worth taking a little risk." Helian Lai pressed his lips together tightly when he heard her say that, pondering. If he continued like this, he would fall out of the top 100 and it would become uncertain if he could enter into the next round of the competition. If it were such a risk, he could try it. He didn't make an immediate decision but looked up at Luo Yi. Luo Yi was sitting up straight. Regardless of how much he restrained his noble temperament, he couldn't conceal his magnificence. He took a sip from his teacup and said, "I agree to take the risk." His current ranking was just at 15th, which was far from the target he had set. He originally planned to take the risk of finding tier 7 demonic beasts to kill and earn points once he arrived at the central area, but now with Lu Muyen's proposal, it should be less risky. Luo Yes group had seen Lu Mu Yen and the several others block a beast tide with their own eyes, so they had no doubts about her words. Sure. Let's go after eating. Helian Lai's lips rose into an arc, dashing and amorous. Lu Mu Yen got up and said, I want to go to the pill stores in the city to buy some spiritual herbs. Do you want to go together, or well gather at the city gate later? Let's go together. Luo Li immediately stood up. The others didn't have much interest in eating either, so they got up together to accompany her to buy spiritual herbs. After arriving at the largest pill store in the city, Lu Mu Yen used Luo Li's name and got the shopkeeper to take out all the spiritual herbs that they sold. The precious high-grade spiritual herbs in the store could only be bought by distinguished clans or people from the royal families from large kingdoms. She selected here and there, then chose 9/10 of the spiritual herbs. I want all of these. Calculate the price. The shopkeeper was startled when he saw it. He had been stationed in this pill store for 3 competitions and this was the first time he had encountered such a customer. Sure, young miss, please wait. The shopkeeper picked up the list and checked them one by one. On the way, he gave a waiter in the store an obscure look, asking him to report to Elder Shao. Lu Mu Yen, you're not sick, are you? Helian Lai was really shocked by this uninhibited behavior. This woman must have gone crazy, right? Why did she buy so many spiritual herbs? She didn't think of taking it out for resale, did she? Lu Mu Yen rolled her eyes at him. You're the one that's sick. You wouldn't be thinking to buy all these spiritual herbs then resell them outside, are you? Most of the spiritual herbs here only grew in this space, and it was hard to find them outside. In fact, some people did think about reselling it long ago, but the people in the pill stores weren't stupid either. If there was a price difference, wouldn't they make the money themselves, so how could they allow the sword masters to catch on to this loophole and make a profit? Dream on. Let me tell you, the price of the spiritual herbs here is higher than outside. If you want to resell it outside, don't waste your energy. Helian Lai reminded. Lu Mu Yen glanced at him. Do you think him that bored? She wasn't a fool. The pill tower wouldn't allow reselling to happen, and she didn't have much energy to do it either. If she were short of money, she could just sell a few pills. What's the point in reselling? It'd be a waste of time. The reason why she bought the spiritual herbs in the competition space was because she had to refine a large number of pills for the Lu clan after returning, for future use. Moreover, the variety of spiritual herbs here was complete. If she went out to buy it in a store outside, she wouldn't be able to buy it all in one place, and she might not even be able to find some spiritual herbs. Even if it were a little more expensive now, it saved time and trouble. Seeing her displeased, Helian Lai's lips twitched. If she wasn't bored to buy so many spiritual herbs, then what was it? Young miss, the total price of the spiritual herbs you want to buy has been calculated. The total is 28 million purple gold coins. The shopkeeper of the pill store handed a price list to Lu Mu Yen and said with a smile. Hearing the number, Lu Mu Yen's brows furrowed. She only had less than 1 million purple gold coins on her, not enough even for change. The more high-level the spiritual herbs were, the more expensive it was, but it wasn't a problem if she could buy it for money, so she naturally wouldn't feel distressed spending so much. Shopkeeper, I don't have so many purple gold coins with me right now. Can I exchange it with pills? Lu Mu Yen thought about it, then asked with a smile. Before the shopkeeper could even speak, there was a laugh of ridicule coming from behind. Before the shopkeeper could even speak, there was a laugh of ridicule coming from behind. It sure is the first time I've heard of anyone who dares to trade for spiritual herbs using pills at a pill shop set up under the pill tower. You're actually trying to show off skills in front of experts here at the pill tower, how courageous. Lu Mu Yen followed this unfamiliar voice and looked up, gazing over. A tall, beautiful, indistinguishably androgynous man walking in from the door of the store, but that peach-red colored dress on him looked truly gaudy. The man's voice of ridicule didn't actually sound that malicious. It only seemed to be expressing an opinion. See Nan, you're really a dog who catches mice meddlesome. Luo Li said impolitely when he saw the person who walked in. Lu Mu Yen looked at Luo Li in amusement. This little cat really got angry too easily. See Nan and Luo Li had always disliked each other the most. He ignored Luo Li and instead approached and scrutinized Lu Mu Yen, then said leisurely, first-class appearance, first-class figure, first-class temperament, it's just a pity that your cultivation base is too unqualified. After speaking, he even showed a look of pity. Most importantly, after staying with Luo Li for a long time, you've also become so naive, even wanting to use pills to exchange for spiritual herbs. A pity. Young Miss Lu, do you not know that this pill shop is the property of the pill tower? The sale of spiritual herbs is just supplementary, the important part is that they sell pills. If you don't have money to buy spiritual herbs, Luo Li this big fool does. Why play with the shopkeeper of the pill store? Si Nan looked as if he was doing this all for her, but what he said was very worth beating up for. The smile on Lu Mu Yan's face didn't change much, but there wasn't much warmth in her eyes, noisy. She seemed to understand now. This Si Nan and Luo Li didn't like each other, and he used her to suppress little cat Luo. She was also too lazy to argue with this kind of person who looked for trouble. 3 golden needles flew out of her sleeves and shot directly at Si Nan. Si Nan revealed a bit of surprise in his eyes, picked up the folding fan in his hand, channeled elemental energy and blocked it. But the 3 golden needles pierced straight through his folding fan and shot towards his neck. He didn't even have time to bring out his sword as he hurriedly resisted with his palm wind, knocking down 2 golden needles, but the other golden needle pierced right through the gap between his fingers and stabbed him right below the collarbone. His eyes widened, only to feel that his body went numb, and he lost all sensation. What did you do to me? He exclaimed in disbelief. The speed of this woman's golden needle was too fast, and the force was also quick, accurate and ruthless. The material used to refine the golden needles was definitely unparalleled, otherwise it would be impossible to shoot through his peak-quality spirit treasure. Most importantly, with his cultivation base, he was actually paralyzed after a single golden needle pierced him, and the elemental energy in his entire body was if it were frozen. This was the first time he had encountered such a thing. Lu Muyen waved her hand and the 3 golden needles disappeared into her sleeve. The others didn't even see it clearly. Just to shut you up. Lu Muyen gave him a cold look and ignored him. Hey, did you poison me? Woman, why are you this stingy? I'm just casually talking about it, so why did you act so viciously towards me? You. Lu Muyen furrowed her brows and considered whether to block the mouth of this gaudy person. He was even noisier than Bing Ji. She didn't realize it herself, but the act of immobilizing Si Nan shocked everyone in the store. Si Nan wasn't only the leader of an elite team of a superpower kingdom, but his cultivation base was also at peak phase Sword Monarch. It was simply too frightening that this woman could use a hidden weapon to immobilize him. Luo Li blinked and turned around, nudging Lu Muyen's arm. How did you freeze him? This was too amazing. How did he not know that Lu Muyen had this sort of skill? Lu Muyen turned her head, smiled, and blinked. Would you like to try it too? Luo Li shuddered and laughed dryly. Forget it, let Si Nan, this cheap thing, enjoy himself. Si Nan's teammates were completely stunned. An alchemist quickly walked up to him to check. Lu Muyen turned her head and asked the shopkeeper with a smile, your pill store doesn't accept pills? According to her understanding, all pill shops on Tianling continent not only sold pills, but also bought pills. The stores under the smithing pavilion also sold magic tools and bought magic tools. It was just that because the reputations of the pill tower and the smithing pavilion were so resonant, so there were basically no sword masters who would come to the pill tower or smithing pavilion to sell pills or magic tools. Therefore Lu Muyen's move of wanting to exchange pills for spiritual herbs would attract Si Nan's mockery. Accept, of course we accept. The shopkeeper was stunned for a moment, then immediately returned to his senses. He was also a little cautious of this woman who seemed to have a low cultivation base. He sure didn't forget that Si Nan, whose cultivation base was at Sword Monarch, was frozen by a single needle. I wonder what kind of pill young miss wants to use to trade. In fact, he also had no clue. When Lu Muyen wanted to trade pills for spiritual herbs, he also had the same thoughts as Si Nan, but he just didn't say it had she was showing off skills in front of experts. But after what happened just now, using a single golden needle to restrain Si Nan, it showed that she hid things deeply, and probably also did that on purpose to show him and the others, using it to awe them. Now he sure wanted to see what kind of pill she could take out to exchange for those spiritual herbs. Lu Muyen took out 2 porcelain bottles from her interspatial ring and introduced, there are 2 kinds of grade 3 pills here. One of them is called Elemental Nourishing Pill, which can nourish one's elemental energy and consolidate one's origins, improving one's cultivation base. Its effect is similar to the Elemental Condensing Pill of the Pill Tower. The other kind of pill is called the Spiritual Energy Recovery Pill. A sword master at Sword Monarch cultivation base can use one and it will restore at least 2/3 of their Bodis elemental energy. What? The shopkeeper revealed disbelief after hearing her introduction. How could that be possible? The Elemental Nourishing Pill that had a similar effect to the Elemental Condensing Pill was already surprising, but the effect of the Spiritual Energy Recovery Pill was simply too miraculous that he couldn't help but doubt. Shopkeeper, if you take a closer look, wouldn't you know? Lu Muyen handed the 2 porcelain bottles to the shopkeeper and said with a light smile. The shopkeeper took the bottles and opened one of them. A gentle, refreshing medicinal fragrance emanated from the bottle that filled the surroundings in just a few breaths. Its fragrance wasn't even outdone by the Elemental Condensing Pill. With a nervous expression, he instantly closed the bottle cap and opened the other bottle. The medicinal fragrance exuded this time was clear and sweet, and just by smelling it, it made people feel that their elemental energy was being replenished. Young Miss Pills cannot be judged by this one. May I ask an appraiser of this tower to appraise it? The shopkeeper put the cap back onto the other bottle and looked at Lu Muyen carefully, asking. At this moment, all the doubts in the shopkeeper's heart had dissipated, and he had a little more respect for Lu Muyen who was able to take out such pills. Sure, take it. Lu Muyen nodded, but please hurry, I have something to do tonight. Yes, please wait a moment, young Mississippi. After speaking, the shopkeeper hurried up to the 2nd floor. And at this time, the sword masters who were buying pills and spiritual herbs from the pill tower looked at Lu Muyen with various gazes, completely different from the previous. Si Nan's body also recovered from paralysis at this time, and he also smelled the medicinal fragrance of the 2 pills. He was certain that the pill called Elemental Nourishing Pill was definitely even more effective than Peerless Quality Elemental Condensing Pills. That Spiritual Energy Recovery Pill that had never been heard of before was even more extraordinary. Moving his numb body a bit, he leaned in beside Lu Muyen with a gaudy smile and cupped his hands. Young Miss Lao's golden needle skill is indeed truly extraordinary, Si Nan truly admires. Lu Muyen took a step back and looked at Si Nan, who had approached her, with disgust, raised an eyebrow and asked Luo Li, he's not sick is he? When Si Nan heard Lu Muyen say this, he couldn't resist twitching the corners of his lips. How could he, a man with background, strength, and most importantly, was so handsome and unrestrained, be sick? Yes, he is sick, his mouth's poisonous, is narcissistic and has a mental problem. Luo Li nodded in agreement. Si Nan glared at Luo Li who dropped stones onto someone who had fallen into a well. He just knew that every time he saw this kid, there wouldn't be anything good coming out of it. Young Miss Lu, I misunderstood you just now. I apologize. I will hold a banquet in the Stream Reflection restaurant to express my apologies to young miss, what do you think? Si Nan's smile bloomed flowers everywhere to express friendship. Lu Muyen glanced at him. This man flipped faces faster than flipping books, with deep scheming and was able to be flexible. Not interested. Lu Muyen refused. She didn't want to have anything to do with Si Nan at all. This guy's purpose definitely wasn't pure. Don't. Young Miss Lu, through exchanging blows, friendship grows, let's be friends. Si Nan thickened his skin and said with a smile. The corners of the lips of the team members behind him twitched. Leader's sickness acted up again. As a dignified leader of a superpower kingdom's team, why must he humbly lower himself to talk to a little girl? His bad interests were definitely showing again. Seeing that the frivolous person was getting closer again, Luo Li stood in front of Lu Muyen and said with furrowed brows, Si Nan, stay away from Lu Muyen, you stinky shameless bastard. Luo Li, your skin's itchy again after not being beaten for a few days, huh? Si Nan opened his gold foil fan that was pierced by Lu Muyen's golden needle and shook it. Looking at the posture of the two, they definitely fought a lot. Lu Muyen saw that although the two quarreled the moment they met, and even wanted to fight, but neither of them had the slightest killing intent. It seemed that they were the kind of friends who had a love-hate relationship. Luo Li rolled up his sleeves and huffed, saying, come at me. You two go fight, later you can go drink tea after leaving the competition space. Lu Muyen tossed out the sentence leisurely. The two froze for a moment, then each huffed coldly and no longer prepared to fight. Even if it were just sparring, it would be judged as a fight and no matter who it was, they would be disqualified from the competition. Si Nan wanted to approach Lu Muyen again to chat, but was blocked by Luo Li, and Lu Muyen ignored him completely. Oh, the regret in his heart. In fact, he didn't have any malicious intentions towards Lu Muyen when he taunted her before. He just wanted to see if Luo Li really valued her as he was rumored to be. He and Luo Li's friendship began with fighting. They appeared to be attacking each other on the surface, but in private, they were actually best friends. He didn't go to the trade fair last time because he had a situation. During the day, he heard Mutong and Luo Qinghe say Luo Li was being played around by a woman, and tonight he happened to hear Lu Muyen's big talk, so he couldn't resist wanting to test. But who knew that he would kick an iron plate? This woman named Lu Muyen was definitely not as superficial as what Luo Qinghe and Mutong said. Whether it was her calm and composed temperament, or the self-confidence she unconsciously revealed, it showed that she wasn't someone mediocre. Especially after Lu Muyen took out the two kinds of pills, he even cursed Luo Qinghe and Mutong inwardly. Who would have thought that a pupil from the Luo clan's branch would dare to besmirch Luo Li behind his back? Luo Qinghe and Mutong were spreading rumors today while hunting, saying that you're enchanted by and infatuated with a woman, and that woman even self-proclaimed to be a high-level spiritual wine master, and how only a fool like you would believe it. Si Nan's ability to stab people definitely was top-notch. They also said that you spent a lot of money for a woman from a small kingdom, not only collecting spiritual herbs and gifting spiritual stones, but even giving her a heavenly frost golden crystal to trade for a dead soul-nourishing wood. After I heard it, I was filled with indignation, and then I heard young Miss Lu say that she wanted to use pills to exchange for spiritual herbs and couldn't help but want to test her. I was also afraid that you'd be deceived. Seeing Luo Li's grim look, Si Nan immediately added, and the results of the testing show that those people were absolutely slandering her, and even I almost believed it. Most of what he said was true, and he bluntly told that Lu Muyen he was testing, so it made people feel less disgusted. Lu Muyen took a few glances at Si Nan. This man was mean and had a black heart, but he could tell right from wrong, and he wasn't shy to admit his mistakes, which made her dislike towards him lessen a bit. Luo Qinghe, that one who lives off of one person but helps another. Wait until this little master meets him next time, he'll definitely clean the household. Luo Li had already seen Luo Qinghe's disgusting, sanctimonious, hypocritical appearance, but he didn't expect that even when the Luo clan spared his life, that person actually still dared to ruin his and Lu Muyen's reputation everywhere. He truly deserved to die. Killing intent flashed in Luo Ye's eyes. Luo Qinghe's ambitions not only grew too big, but he also dared to slander Luo Lithat truly violated his baseline. Lu Muyen, I didn't mean to tell others that you can make spiritual wine. Luo Li was afraid that Lu Muyen would be angered at him when she heard Si Nan's words. He was angrier than anyone else knowing Lu Muyen was being slandered by people from the Luo clan and Mutong. Lu Muyen smiled without care, no worries, I know you won't hurt me. Luo Li took the spiritual wine she gifted to Luo Ye's place that day, and then Luo Qinghe left alone. At that time, that person probably said something bad about herself before being driven away by Luo Li. I definitely won't hurt you. Luo Li's heart felt so sweet when he heard Lu Muyen trust him like this. Lu Muyen smiled. She already regarded Luo Li as that little cat she kept before, and she had an inexplicable trust in him, including him as one of her own. Si Nan saw that the relationship between the two didn't seem to be fake and he could see that Luo Li was really interested in Lu Muyen, but the gaze that Lu Muyen looked at Luo Li with didn't have any love, only pampering. At this time, the shopkeeper hurriedly walked down from the second floor and said to Lu Muyen with a smile, young miss, the elder of the Pill Tower invites you for a discussion on the second floor. Lu Muyen nodded, trouble you to lead the way. Seeing Luo Li and the others following, the shopkeeper didn't stop them either. Even Lu Muyen wasn't afraid to expose herself, naturally he wouldn't be a bad person. Si Nan had a tendency to like joining the fun to begin with, so he raised his foot and followed. Seeing this, the other sword masters were itching as well, but they didn't dare follow. Luo Li and Si Nan were termed the little overlords and rogues of superpower kingdoms. They definitely wouldn't be able to walk away safely if they provoked them. Lu Muyen didn't mind revealing her identity as an alchemist. Ever since knowing that there were people from the 6 major sects and other major forces paying attention to this space, she no longer kept a low profile. This was a way to increase her bargaining chips. After arriving on the 2nd floor, the shopkeeper led them into the innermost room. In the room, sandalwood burned with wisps of smoke and a refreshing scent lingered. Sitting inside was an elegant, elderly man, precisely Elder Shao, who appeared at the trade fair before. "Young Miss Lu, we meet again." Elder Shao slowly opened his eyes and a gleam of sharp light quickly flashed across his eyes. In front of him were 2 white porcelain bottles, precisely Lu Muyan's pills. Lu Muyan smiled lightly and said, "Greetings, Elder Shao. Young miss, please sit." "Sit." Elder Shao nodded kindly towards her. Then he turned his attention to Luo Li and the others. "I have something to discuss with young Miss Lu. If you need to do anything, then you can leave first." Inside and out, the meaning of his words was obvious to kick them out. But there were just some people who pretended not to understand. Sinan sat right beside Elder Shao and said with a silly smile, "We're not busy." "We're not busy." Sinan's face skin one had long become impenetrable. He sat down, full of smiles, with a look as if saying I want leave. Seeing that he wasn't leaving, Luo Li glared at him and also sat down beside Lu Muyan impolitely. "We're also not busy." There was only one table with 5 chairs in total. At this time, 3 of them had been occupied. Although Helian Lai's face skin wasn't as thick as Sinan's, but wasn't much thinner either, so he also sat his bottom on one. Seeing this, Elder Shao instructed the shopkeeper in amusement, "Let someone bring some more chairs in." With these 3 thick-skinned people staying, he naturally couldn't favor one and discriminate against the others. Since they wanted to stay, then they should all remain. Either way, Lu Muyan didn't even care, so it could be considered a favor done at little to no cost. "Elder Shao, can my pills be exchanged for those spiritual herbs?" Lu Muyan didn't go around in circles with him either. They still had to travel at night. Elder Shao smiled meaningfully and asked, "Can this old man ask how you obtained these pills, young Miss Lu?" When Lu Muyan took out the grade 3 pills at the trade fair that day, he could smell the pure scent of pills, but he didn't think she refined it herself. "It was given to me by my master." Lu Muyan smiled lightly. Her current cultivation base was too low, and no one would believe that she refined these pills herself. It was better to continue to use a tiger's skin to be her banner too. So that these old foxes could be cautious and fearful. Elder Shao was stunned for a moment, then said with a gentle smile, "I wonder who might be young Miss Lau's master? There are not many alchemists on the entire Tianling continent who could make such high-grade pills." The pills that Lu Muyan took out were all top-quality grade 3 pills, and the pill fragrance lasted for a very long time. Even compared to grade 3 pills refined by grade 4 alchemists from the pill tower, her master's technique was much more skilled and experienced, so he truly wanted to befriend him. "Apologies, without the permission of master, I dare not reveal his identity." Lu Muyan didn't report the name of old man Tian Xian this time. Elder Shao revealed some regret but also understood that some high-level alchemists like to keep a low profile. Since that is so, this old man will not force it. "Master?" Judging from the information he had collected recently, Lu Muyan would sweep away all the spiritual herbs in pill shops each time she arrived at a city in the competition space. Apart from this reason, he couldn't figure out why she bought so many spiritual herbs. "Yes. When I entered the competition space, master asked me to buy a lot of spiritual herbs from the pill shop." Lu Muyan revealed a little shyness. "I didn't take the purple crystal card master gave me. Who knew that the spiritual herbs would be this expensive? As my pockets are shy 3, I could only exchange using pills." When Luo Li and the others heard her reveal such an expression, they couldn't resist holding their foreheads. This girl's acting skills sure were top-notch. "The value of your 2 pills has already exceeded the price of the list of spiritual herbs you requested before. I will ask the shopkeeper to add an extra 3/10 of spiritual herbs for it to be of equal value." Elder Shao wasn't one to take advantage of the younger generation. The pills that Lu Muyan took out were indeed very valuable, especially that spiritual energy recovery pill. According to his experience, after taking it, it could indeed achieve the effect she said. "Then many thanks to Elder Shao." Lu Muyan smiled humbly. "I wonder if you still have any more of these 2 types of pills to sell or exchange for spiritual herbs? I can transfer the spiritual herbs from the central city over for you to buy." He wanted to bring the pills back to the pill tower for research, so one was simple too few. Lu Muyan's eyes curved into crescent shapes as she smiled, "Sure. I just don't know whether the spiritual herbs in the central city are the same as here or not." Elder Shao wanted more pills, then she would just give some more. She wasn't worried that they would use it to research the composition of spiritual herbs in the pills at all. If she didn't even have that much confidence, then she wouldn't need to continue to roam the alchemist community. The purchase of a large number of spiritual herbs in the central city was bound to attract more people's attention. Now that Elder Shao himself brought it up, why shouldn't she take it? This is a list of all the spiritual herbs sold by the pill tower in the competition space. See if there are any you want to trade for. Elder Shao took out a jade slip and handed it to Lu Muyan. Lu Muyan took the jade slip and checked it, finding that there were many high-level spiritual herbs on the list. Not only were the prices extremely high, but one needed a certain identity to be able to buy it in limited quantities. "Can I trade for the limited spiritual herbs too?" Lu Muyan blinked and asked with a smile. Since Elder Shao wanted to give her preferential treatment, he naturally wouldn't object. "Yes. Lu Muyen waited precisely for this answer. After she crossed out several kinds of spiritual herbs that were of little use to her, she said, aside from the spiritual herbs I crossed out, I want them all. Elder Shao took a look and his eyelids jumped instantly. This girl sure spent so much money. But he did have such authority. Although it's a little troublesome, but I can gather it. You can trade when you get to the central area. Elder Shao said. Then how many pills do I need to exchange for it? Lu Muyen asked. Elder Shao stroked the porcelain bottle on the table, thought about it, then said, 6 spiritual energy recovery pills, 3 elemental nourishing pills. I originally planned to keep some spares, but now I'll just have to lose money for the sake of master. Lu Muyen agreed with gritted teeth, with an expression as if her flesh hurt. The transaction number Elder Shao proposed was very reasonable and he didn't deceive her, which also made her impression of the pill tower a little better. I'll give these 6 spiritual energy recovery pills and 3 elemental nourishing pills to Elder Shao first. Then I'll go to the pill shop in the central city to pick up the spiritual herbs. Lu Muyen took out several bottles of pills very generously. Elder Shao said with a smile on his face, little girl sure is resolute. Aren't you afraid that this old one will fool you and act as if such a thing didn't happen? Elder Shao seems to have a sense of righteousness, so you naturally won't act as if this didn't happen or breach our promise. I believe in my own judgment. Lu Muyen's eyes were clear, and she smiled naturally, appearing as if the words came from her heart without the slightest falsehood. Elder Shao was taken aback for a moment, then he laughed happily, you're a rather lovable little girl. He had been paying attention to this little girl Lu Muyen since the first time he saw her. She handled affairs without fear, treated anyone neither humbly or haughtily, and her indifferent, otherworldly temperament made people unable to resist feeling good about her. In addition, she had a very light medicinal fragrance, so she must be an alchemist, which also had Elder Shao feel a kind of closeness, as if a senior watching a junior. Hearing Elder Shao's address of her change from young Miss Lu to little girl, the expressions on the people present varied. Elder Shao was notoriously difficult to approach, yet who knew that Lu Muyen obtained his favor at first glance for. I'll give this pill tower token to you. When you get to the central city, take it to the pill shop and there will naturally be someone who will send you the spiritual herbs you want. Elder Shao tossed over a palm-sized cyan token to Lu Muyen, in a good mood. Lu Muyen received the token and took a look at it. There was a complicated pattern engraved on the token, and within the pattern was the word pill. Seeing Elder Shao take out this cyan token, Si Nan and Helian Lai couldn't resist revealing shock and envy in their eyes. Then I won't be polite. My gratitude, Elder Shao. Although Lu Muyen didn't know what the token could be used for, but she knew it was a good thing seeing the expressions of Si Nan and the others. Seeing her accept it without being quarrelsome and without pretense, her beautiful pair of eyes narrowed in a smile, like a little fox that had successfully cheated someone of something. Elder Shao's like for her increased. Luoli and the others were also dazzled by her lively smile. One so, in case people didn't know, wanting face or having no face etc., figuratively means being shameless. After leaving the pill shop, Si Nan followed the people along the way with his thick skin and unreasonable manner. No matter how much Luoli provoked him, he wouldn't leave. Luoli, what's the use of the pill tower token that Elder Shao gave me just now? Lu Muyen asked Luoli beside him. Luoli pushed aside Si Nan who was about to come over and said, the pill tower token is a good thing. Using it, you can go to all the pill tower properties to buy things, not only giving you discounts, but you can also buy pills or spiritual herbs that require a certain identity and are on limited sale. Aside from that, there's no other uses. Lu Muyen just felt that the cyan token wasn't that simple. Everyone who held the pill tower token can enjoy the treatment of distinguished guests. As for how they can enjoy it, I don't know. Luoli shrugged, it's very rare for the pill tower to issue a pill tower token, and only those elders who hold real power are qualified to gift one. But it said that those who obtained one have either the status or the strength and were very powerful. Sounds very similar to the Ming Alliance token. Lu Muyen remembered that she still had the Ming Alliance token lying in her interspatial ring and wondered how Ming Xiao, that guy, was doing now. Helian Lai said in surprise, you don't know about the pill tower token, but you know of the Ming Alliance token? Is that weird? Lu Muyen asked. Helian Lai said, the Ming Alliance token is even more useful than the pill tower token, and the amount given out were even less. There are only 2 powerhouses in our Dongshuan kingdom that have a Ming Alliance token. The Pill Tower has the Pill Tower token, the Ming Chamber of Commerce Alliance has the Ming Alliance token, then does the Smithing Pavilion have some sort of token? Lu Muyen asked with a light smile. Si Nan pushed away Helian Lai's handsome face, revealing a brilliant smile, I know this. The Smithing Pavilion naturally has their Fire Pavilion token. Lu Muyen nodded lightly, wondering when she should go get a Fire Pavilion token to play with. Seeing that Lu Muyen didn't give him any nice looks, he touched his nose, looking helpless. Wasn't it all because he was tricked by Luo Qinghe and the others? The several people quickly walked out of the city and rushed towards the closest largest city to the central area. Are you going to travel at night? Si Nan followed and asked in surprise when he found that the 3 groups of people were traveling at a very fast speed after they left the city. Luoli rolled his eyes at him, otherwise? We won't be entertaining you since we have to hurry. You should go back to the city. You 3 teams have made an alliance. Si Nan looked at him and asked. As long as your eyes aren't blind, you can see it. Luoli snorted coldly. Si Nan's long and narrow eyes were filled with brilliance, and he said with a smile, add our group to it. You didn't go find Mo Ling and Yen Jun for an alliance? Luo Li raised an eyebrow and asked. Mo Ling is too cold and boring. Yen Jun disappeared for no apparent reason 5 days ago and who knows what he went to do. Si Nan thickened his skin and rubbed against Luo Li's side, saying, so I can only rely on you, buddy. Don't talk nonsense, you stinky shameless bastard. Who's your buddy? Luo Li took a few steps away from him with a look of disgust. Alright, I'm serious. Let me join your alliance too. Si Nan was looking at Luo Yi when he said this. Luo Yi's clear voice echoed in the night, very pleasant, I don't care. Si Nan immediately turned his gaze to Lu Mu Yen, young Miss Lu, what do you think? I don't care either. Lu Mu Yen glanced at him and replied coldly. Si Nan discovered that his masculine charm actually didn't have any advantage in front of Lu Mu Yen, but don't care meant that it was a yes, then we're allies from now on. Si Nan, have you asked my opinion? Helian Lai played with the folding fan in his hand, then glanced at the gold foil fan in Si Nan's hands and pursed his lips. This man really was gaudy. Si Nan raised an eyebrow, they all agreed, your opinion isn't important. Humph, Luo Li is right, you're very dislikable. Helian Lai snorted coldly. Then Luo Li also joined in the cursing battle against Si Nan, and the three of them ridiculed back and forth very cheerfully. Lu Mu Yen smiled speechlessly. The friendship between these three was really very weird. There's a medium beast tide gathering 2 kilometers ahead. Mo Yan's voice echoed in Lu Mu Yan's ears. Lu Mu Yan's eyes lit up and she said to everyone, there's a medium-sized beast tide 2 kilometers ahead, the time to earn points has come. After she finished speaking, she tapped her toes and disappeared from their field of vision as a stream of light in the dark night. Yunzi Mo and the others didn't hesitate either and accelerated towards the direction of her disappearance. Seeing Luo Li and the others also speeding up, Si Nan was taken aback. What did she mean by there's a medium-sized beast tide ahead, and that the time to earn points has come? It wasn't how he thought it was it? Of course it's that we'll be going to kill the beasts in the beast tides and earn points, idiot. Luo Li rolled his eyes at him, then ignored him as he and Luo Yi and the others also disappeared in a flash. Taking the initiative to find a beast tide to kill? Have they all gone crazy? Si Nan turned to look at Helian Lai who was prepared to catch up to them. Helian Lai curled his lips, I also think they're crazy, but it's very exciting. Maybe you'll start liking it too. After answering, without waiting for Si Nan's reaction, he took the elite team of Dongshuan Kingdom and also rushed forward. They're completely influenced by that woman named Lu Mu Yen. They even thought of something as crazy as this. A team member behind Si Nan said. Another furrowed their brows and asked, then should we follow? Si Nan's eyes were as deep as the sea and his face revealed a rare look of seriousness. After pondering, he waved his hand and said, follow. Why shouldn't we follow? Even Helian Lai, with his crafty personality, can't wait to chase after them, it definitely must be profitable. The several other people thought that it was the case too. It was understandable if Luo Li was enchanted by a beauty and lost his reason, but Luo Yi and Helian Lai couldn't both be hot-headed. So the team quickly followed as well. Roar roar. It was just that as soon as they approached the beast tide, Si Nan's group was completely stunned by the sight in front of them. Ahead, countless walls of fire rose into the sky, dividing the gathered demonic beasts into more than a dozen small waves, and a small black flag constantly shook in the sky above. Luo Yi and the others, at this time, were within the separated fire walls, killing the demonic beasts that had been separated into smaller waves. Even that unremarkable team of Lu Mu Yans killed demonic beasts without ambiguity or hesitation. Each strike was pretty much quick, accurate, ruthless, specifically targeting the weak points of demonic beasts. Even at first glance, they basically looked like experienced hunters. They definitely had done this sort of thing more than once. The most blinding thing was that Lu Mu Yen controlled the array while also controlling 10 golden flying swords to shuttle among the tier 6 demonic beasts. Each strike of the sword took a life. Either that, or she directly blasted them with her fist, bombarding a demonic beast whose cultivation base was even higher than her to death in only a few punches. The woman had beauty that could cause the downfall of a kingdom, while her figure was like a ghost. The light purple clothes set her off as noble and mysterious, as if an Azura one from hell, with a devilish beauty beneath the firelight at night. Fuck, was this still a woman? A team member behind Si Nan was tongue-tied in amazement when he saw that Lu Mu Yen could kill a tier 6 demonic beast in close quarters combat. How domineering. One of the men sighed with various emotions. When Luo Li saw that Si Nan's group had arrived but just watched Lu Mu Yen and didn't help, his face darkened as he roared, Si Nan, what are you looking at, you damn shameless bastard? Hurry up and come help. Only then did Si Nan and the others return to their senses, and they rushed into the battle circle to join in the slaughter of the demonic beasts. Because the 4 teams were all very powerful, it only took 4 hours to harvest this medium-sized beast tide wave. Under Mo Yan's probing, they killed 3 small beast tides that night and their points skyrocketed, attracting the attention of many forces. 1 malevolent beings in Hindu mythology apparently. Only when the sky had brightened, did the 4 teams of talents drag their weary bodies to the largest refuge city in the competition space besides the central city. On the city tower, Jiyu looked at the 20 or so people who had just entered the city. Their points are growing so fast, could it be that they're traveling at night? Mu Tong stared at Lu Mu Yen with a grim expression. This woman really was a vixen. Not only did she seduce the two Luo brothers, but even Helian Lai and Si Nan's attitude towards her was very different. Ji Yu took out the dark purple jade tablet and glanced at it. The point rankings of those people had risen a lot. Luo Li and Lu Mu Yen, who had already dropped out of the top 40, were now back at 30-something in just one night. Seeing how tired they are, it should have been a night of bloody battles. Let's go out of the city to ambush and hunt. We can't let them surpass our points. Ji Yu put away the jade tablet and leapt off the city wall. The rest of their group also leapt down and rushed towards a remote mountain in the distance. As soon as Lu Mu Yen and her party entered the city, they gained the attention of many forces. They ignored it, however, and went to Rongzi Kingdom's small courtyard at an inn and began to recover. When night fell, the doors in the small courtyard opened one after another, and the 4 teams of people went out to hunt together. Mo Ling stood at a high place, prideful, aloof, and cool. He watched Luo Yi and his party leave, and there was a strange color in his calm eyes. Young Lord, Luo Yi and the others seemed to have changed their hunting time tonight. A man behind him said. After a while, Mo Ling said, let's observe another day. Yes. Lu Mu Yen and the others didn't rush towards the last target, the central city. The demonic beasts near there were generally tier 7 demonic beasts. If they weren't careful, they might accidentally provoke a tier 7 small beast tide, which would be troublesome. The central city generally gathered crowds in the last 10 days. By then, the competition for points would have become subsidiary and everyone's purpose would be to compete for the identity jade tablets. That night, their harvest wasn't too big, and they only intercepted 4 waves of small beast tides. When dawn arrived and they returned to the city, the number of spies gradually increased outside the inn where they stayed at. Let's rest during the day today and well follow to see what tricks they're playing tonight. Ji Yu looked at the names that changed ranks last night on his jade tablet and his eyes sank. If they went on like this, they wouldn't be able to keep their top 10 rankings. Mu Tong had long wanted to kill Lu Mu Yen in the wild, and there was a cruel look on her beautiful face. Tonight, I will definitely tear that vixen into tens of thousands of pieces. Ji Yu furrowed his brows slightly as he looked at her, and the image of that white-clothed, cold and prideful woman, with elegance and intellectual brilliance, appeared in his mind. He sighed and clenched his hands. Power, benefits, and strength were more important. When Lu Mu Yen and the others set out from the city at night, there were actually more than a dozen groups of people secretly following behind. They're following us, how about we kill them all? Si Nan's androgynous handsome face revealed a wicked smile and even made a gesture of slicing his neck with his hands. Luo Li rolled his eyes at him. Ji Yu and Mo Ling's elite team are also following. You go up first and kill those 2, then we'll clean up the rest. Ji Yu can't beat me, but Mo Ling is a bit tricky. I'm afraid that only Lord Luo could handle him. Si Nan analyzed it seriously. Seriously. Luo Yi didn't pay any attention to him at all. If Mo Ling was so easy to kill, he wouldn't have fought to fame in only one battle when he was young. You really are sick. They're probably just following to see how we hunt demonic beasts at night. It's not like they're sneak attacking, so it's not justifiable for us to take the initiative to kill them. And if we can't kill them, then we'd be making a few big enemies. Luo Li glanced suspiciously at Si Nan. You damned shameless bastard's heart is impure. Are you trying to kill Mo Ling by borrowing my elder brother's hand? Si Nan rolled his eyes. He was just making a random suggestion. How did it become his heart being impure? That's right, who asked Mo Ling to have violated me before? Remembering the last time he fought against Mo Ling and was injured by him, he felt a surge of anger. One day he would definitely find a way to regain his stage from that cold-faced ghost. Pfft. If Mo Ling heard what you said just now, he would definitely make you die miserably. Luo Li sneered. Si Nan, this damn shameless bastard's brain was definitely ill. There's a medium-sized beast tied to the east, but this time, there are 2 tier 7 demonic beast leaders. Lu Mu Yen looked into the distance and explained the situation that Mo Yan's demonic sense gathered. Luo Yi pinched his fingers to calculate. We can go. Si Nan, it's time to put you to use. Luo Li put his hand on Si Nan's shoulder as if they were good buddies. He should just let this damned shameless bastard to deal with the tier 7 demonic beasts. Si Nan raised his chin arrogantly. This master will be afraid? Seeing that the two were still joking around at such a critical moment, Helian Lai immediately interrupted. Stop joking around and let's talk business. Are we still using the previous strategy with so many people following? Seeing everyone looking at him, he immediately asked. Lu Mu Yen swept her rear casually, then shrugged indifferently. Of course. Otherwise, how can we earn points? If those people follow and they decide not to kill, then their points would definitely fall again. We rest during the day and act at night, and our points are increasing so fast, so it's normal to be targeted. Luo Yi took the first step ahead. Let's go. Although Helian Lai and the others were a little worried about the dozen or so teams behind, but right now, this was the only way to increase their points. Follow. Seeing Luo Yi and the others speed up, Ji Yu and the more than a dozen elite teams couldn't resist and followed them. Roar roar. The roars of countless high-level demonic beasts resounded throughout the canyon, as if they had long been prepared for battle. Be careful tonight. The 2 tier 7 demonic beasts seemed to have come prepared. Mo Yan's eyes were indifferent. The 2 transformation stage demonic beasts were just like ants to him. Lu Mu Yen looked at him with a smile and telepathically said, how about you go display your power and prestige a bit? Not interested. Unless it's a matter of life and death, otherwise I definitely won't act. Mo Yen closed his eyes and rested. Bing Ji pouted, cursing inwardly. What are you acting so proud for? You're speaking as if you can easily strangle a tier 7 demon cultivator. Owner, how about you undo my seal today and let me display my power and prestige? Bing Ji rubbed against her decisively. Little Owner's accomplishments in the path of the array were so profound, he believed that she definitely was able to lift Ming Xiu's seal. Go look for Ming Xiu to lift it. Lu Mu Yen was too lazy to pay attention to him. Although Ming Xiu did tell her how to break the seal before he left, but she wasn't going to let this stinky bird transform. His cultivation base was suppressed to tier 6 right now, but he still thought about going out and jumping around all day. If he recovered the strength of a tier 8, then it wasn't certain what sort of trouble he would cause. Bing Ji instantly looked like a defeated rooster. It seems that I can't display my power and prestige and be arrogant tonight. Otherwise just watch how I kill those 2 tier 7 little vermin. He didn't telepathically say those words, but instead directly said them aloud, which instantly caused Si Nan and the others to roll their eyes. It really was with what kind of owner, there would be what kind of spirit pet all of them sure were arrogant. Not long after, when they arrived at the canyon, they saw the densely packed, very orderly demonic beasts gathering in front of them. Still the old rule, I'll use an array to separate the beast tide, and you all kill quickly. Lu Mu Yen looked at the 2 human-like figures up in the air in the distance. Luo Yi, we might need to rely on you to restrain the tier 7 demonic beasts. Luo Yi's eyes were clear and clean, nodding lightly. Si Nan swept the sky in the distance and said lazily, I can restrain one. He left a bad impression on Lu Mu Yen and the others before, so it was even more imperative to reverse his image. He may not be able to kill the tier 7 demon cultivator perfectly, but he can still stall it or defeat it. Alright, you can both go greet them when they initiate the attack. Lu Mu Yen knew that for Si Nan to be able to become the leader of an elite superpower kingdom team, then his strength naturally wouldn't be weak. More than a dozen teams behind them also arrived at this time, and when they saw the densely packed tier 6 demonic beasts in front of them, they couldn't help but feel a little numb in their scalps. It would be fine for each person to take on a few of those beasts, but if they were surrounded by a large group, then they would be in danger. Many people wanted to retreat. Mu Tong's eyes revealed surprise and fear, then she pulled Ji Ye's clothes. How about we go back to the city first? There are so many tier 6 demonic beasts gathered here, those that enter might have difficulty escaping. Ji Yu pulled his sleeves out of her hands, his voice cold. The woman named Lu Mu Yen is only at peak phase Sword King cultivation base, but she's not afraid. What are you afraid of? Mu Tong clenched her fists. She gritted her teeth and stood beside Ji Yu. Watching the 4 groups of people not far away, she didn't believe that Vixen wouldn't be afraid. In a bit, Luo Li and the others would probably have to find time to protect her. Then let's see how she won't be afraid. Ji Yu stopped talking and looked straight ahead. If Luo Yi and the others were trapped deeply in the beast tide, with how himself and the others were positioned, they could still retreat in time. Mo Ling folded his arms and leaned against a big tree. The coldness of his body combined with the night wind that blew slowly made him look extremely desolate. Have Luo Yi and the others gone crazy? A team member behind him asked in confusion when he saw that Luo Yi and the others not only did not retreat, but instead leapt towards the beast tide. Mo Ling furrowed his brows slightly. They're not fools. Keep watching. He didn't believe that Luo Yi and the others would use their lives for a joke. As soon as Lu Mu Yen approached the group of beasts, she tapped her toes and leapt up into the sky, tossing jade stones that she had long nourished well used for arranging arrays one by one towards 14 different locations. The demonic beasts here didn't just have a lot of abilities but were also very strong. If she only used one 7-star array, then she was afraid that the beast tide would destroy the defense, so she arranged a chain of 7-star fire arrays. 14 stones entered the ground instantly and traces of spiritual force wound around them and moved. She stretched out her hand and an array flag fell over the array. The black flag slowly unfolded like a picture scroll. She utilized flash steps and continuously shuttled through the tier 6 demonic beasts, forming seals and arranging the array, her figure ghostly, flexible and free, as if she had reached a realm of being non-existent. What's going on? What's she going to do? Someone behind Mo Ling said in surprise, this woman's so agile. Mo Ling remembered the beast-killing trapping array method that night and his cold eyes brightened slightly. Watching Lu Mu Yen arrange the array, she will use an array to aid the battle. Use an array to aid the battle? Is it useful against so many demonic beasts? A member of the team at the back had uncertainty and suspicion in his tone. Well, no, if we keep watching. Mu Tong saw Lu Mu Yan's agile movements, maneuvering back and forth within the demonic beasts, completely unafraid, and her face was terrifyingly grim. She simply couldn't believe it. Is she seeking death? This woman isn't simple. Unlike Mu Tong, who resented Lu Mu Yen a lot, from Ji Ye's point of view, to be able to maneuver through the beasts as if non-existent and still survive safely was something that even he couldn't do. Her footwork should be a high-level method. Seeing Lu Mu Yen so arrogantly moving within the group, she suddenly felt a sense of powerlessness. It would probably be difficult for her to kill her today, so she had to borrow Ji Ye's power. Sure enough, after hearing her words, Ji Ye's deep eyes moved. After Lu Mu Yen arranged the array, she snapped her fingers and transparent jade balls rose from her fingertips into the air one by one, echoing with the array. And after she withdrew from the beast group, the gathering demonic beasts all rioted. This human woman was practically challenging their dignity. Roar, roar. The numerous beast roars were deafening, and the demonic beasts looked at Lu Mu Yen with fierce eyes. They clawed the ground and rushed in her direction. Rise. Lu Mu Yan's eyes narrowed and shouted coldly, Pu Pu. At the fall of her words, countless walls of flames surged up from the ground, separating the advancing group of beasts. She stood on top of a golden longsword in midair and formed a few Taoist seals, appearing in the air, 7-star fire array bind. Immediately afterwards, one saw the walls of fire tumble apart, forming 4 walls after 4 walls, separating the demonic beasts in the group, and each 4-sided wall would surround less than 20 tier 6 demonic beasts. She stepped lightly and the golden sword beneath her feet shone brightly, then she rushed into the fire array with a shoo. The golden longsword instantly divided into 10 flying swords and slashed towards the surrounding demonic beasts. The flying swords were like fish in water, and the fire array was just like the pond for raising fish. The two cooperated to harvest the lives of more than a dozen tier 6 demonic beasts in only a short amount of time. As long as the flying sword targeted one, each sword would stab into their vital points. Lu Muyan's flying swords were as if it had their own self-consciousness, automatically attacking demonic beasts, while she, herself, was filled with fighting spirit. Her slender jade hands were enveloped in a layer of a light, glass-like red color, and she flew up, brandishing her fists, taking the initiative to greet each ferocious, robust demonic beast. My heavens! My eyes aren't blurry, are they? Someone from the dozen or so teams that followed exclaimed, this woman is so fierce. Watching the demonic beasts fall to the ground one after another under her fist, many people wouldn't help feeling numb at their scalps. Was this still a woman? If someone became her husband in the future, would he be beaten to death with a fist if she became unhappy? Many people stared, dumbfounded, at the purple-clothed, otherworldly woman who looked like a deity of war. And yet, such a violent battle didn't seem at all vulgar or contemptuous, and instead, it was pleasing to watch her figure disappear and appear ceaselessly. I finally know why Luoli fell in love with this small kingdom girl. She really was charming. A strong and sturdy man behind him. Ling swallowed. What a hot beauty. I wonder who's lucky enough to bear her. A thin-looking man beside him shuddered. I feel more sympathetic to Luoli now. The beauty is fierce. Many people on the field knew that Luoli had a crush on a small kingdom woman, and now seeing Lu Muyan's valiant style, many people cast sympathetic gazes to him. Luoli, is that woman in the array really Lu Muyan? Sinan rubbed his eyes, afraid that his vision was blurry. Luoli looked as if he regarded it as his honor. Naturally she's Lu Muyan. If you like those delicate women, then you can choose not to look. I've seen too many delicate women that I already don't feel anything anymore. Seems like a valiant and violent beauty like Lu Muyan has more taste. I like it. Sinan's eyes revealed some fiery desire. Only conquering such a hot and violent beauty was interesting and challenging. Seeing Sinan look at Lu Muyan with incomparably fiery eyes, Luoli's face darkened instantly. He said grimly, you'd better restrain yourself from your little ideas. She's not interested in a gaudy pretty face like you at all. How do you know she's not interested? You aren't able to eat the meat yourself and you want us to be vegetarians as well. One fair competition? You damned shameless bastard, get lost. Luoli pushed Sinan away with a dark face, snorted coldly and jumped into the fire array, beginning to kill demonic beasts. He couldn't give the shameless Sinan a chance to approach Lu Muyan. Sinan raised an eyebrow, he's a bit too jealous. But naturally I won't give up something I'm interested in so easily. There was a bewitching smile on his handsome face. He was still rather confident in his own face. Seeing that Luoyi had also joined the killing in the fire array, and the 2 transformation stage demon cultivators in the distance didn't act, he also jumped into the fire array without hesitation. Whoever didn't try to earn these points were fools. There were many people who thought like Sinan. Having such a fire array was truly a good opportunity to earn points. No wonder Luoyi and the others dared to hunt at night. So it turned out that there was the fire array arranged by Lu Muyan. Young lord, should we go up? The team members behind Mo Ling were eager to act. Mo Ling narrowed his eyes and nodded, let's go. The beast tide was still gathering, and with only Luo Yi and the others, they might not be able to kill them all. Since they chanced upon it, then it wasn't a big issue if they went up to have a share of porridge. He would just give some compensation to that woman named Lu Muyan in the future. Her talent and attainments in the path of the array shocked him very much, and he also had the heart to befriend her. Obtaining a nod from Mo Ling, the several people quickly rushed into the fire array to kill the demonic beasts. Seeing that Lu Muyan's combat power was so powerful, Mutong's face was grim, and she even trembled slightly. This woman actually had such profound knowledge in arrays. How was that possible? In addition to awe, Ji's gaze towards Lu Muyan was also mixed with some complexity. To be able to use an array of such level, the background of this woman definitely wasn't simple, or there was someone behind her. Crown Prince, let's go too. Seeing that Mo Ling's people had already jumped into the fire array, the team members behind Jiyu couldn't hold back any longer. Jiyu closed his eyes, then opened them and waved his hands, go. Seeing that Jiyu and the others also joined the battle circle in the fire array, Mutong stomped her foot and followed. More than a dozen other groups of people also jumped into the fire array to earn points. What made them delighted was that when they entered the fire array, they discovered that those demonic beasts were obviously suppressed by the heat and energy of the fire array. Lu Muyan pondered while sieging and killing. When she saw Mutong's group of people killing happily in her array, she narrowed her eyes dangerously and her lips revealed a ridicule. With a thought, the jade stones buried in the ground immediately moved positions and the fire wall near Mutong and the others instantly extinguished. The trapped demonic beasts were confused for a moment, then roared excitedly and rushed towards Mutong's group of people. The people were just killing heartily, feeling refreshed. The combat power of the tier 6 demonic beasts suppressed by the fire array was actually only equivalent to peak phase tier 5. GE's combat power was the strongest, so he rather easily avoided the crazy riot of demonic beasts, unlike others who were more or less injured. He looked grimly at Lu Muyan who was standing in the sky. This woman sure was a ruthless character. If she was an enemy, she would become a serious issue. He should find a chance to kill her in the competition space. However, even if the fire array was withdrawn, the beast tide was still divided into countless waves, and they could still kill many demonic beasts to earn points. So even if they were secretly annoyed by Lu Muyan's actions, they could only keep it in their hearts and continue to kill the demonic beasts on the periphery. Lu Muyan, what do you mean by this? Mu Tong was bitten on the arm by a demonic beast, and after killing the demonic beast, she glared at Lu Muyan not far away who watched the play with folded arms. Lu Muyan raised an eyebrow and sneered, precisely what you saw. You want to kill us? Mu Tong's eyes rolled in thought, then provoked. Lu Muyan stretched out a finger and shook it, saying casually, I'm not interested in their deaths. If they die in the beast tide, then it would be all your fault. What do you mean? Mu Tong looked at her resentfully. What did she mean by it would be her fault? Because you're hostile to me and want to kill me whenever, wherever, and we don't like each other, so I naturally won't let you all use the array. Array. Even if they want to blame, they should blame you for not being able to recognize your own situation and status. Lu Muyan smiled charmingly, sooner or later, your group will be harmed by your arrogant and domineering temper, so what does it have to do with me? Don't forget, from the very beginning to the end, you provoked me first. And I just happen to have this one virtue. Her eyes revealed a sharpness, if one does not offend me, I won't offend them. If one offended me, I'll send them to hell to drink tea with King Yama. Hearing her words, many people shuddered. It truly was as the saying servants and women were difficult to raise too. No one doubted what she said. Even if she smiled so gorgeously and movingly, with unparalleled beauty, but no one could ignore the coldness in her eyes. You little bitch. Mu Tong couldn't resist cursing. Pa! But her voice only just fell when an invisible fiery red slap landed on her face, its crispness resounding. She held her cheek in disbelief. You dared to slap me? In my array, it is not up to you to be arrogant. Lu Muyan sneered. The slap just now was precisely a slap formed from her fire elemental energy condensation. Mu Tong was long used to being arrogant in the empire and in her clan. Aside from being slapped in the cheek by that bitch elder sister, Lu Muyan was the second person in her entire life to touch her. She erupted, her current anger also fueled with her previous hatred, and said with a grim and ruthless expression, I'm going to kill you. Elemental energy channeled violently into her longsword, and her middle phase sword monarch cultivation base was in full momentum as she slashed at Lu Muyan with all her strength. The cyan sword aura swept out like a hurricane, carrying with it a strong wind elemental power. Lu Muyan let out a languid laugh, tapped her finger and drew a Taoist seal in the air. Bang! Then a huge wall of fire surged and instantly engulfed the imposing wind elemental energy hurricane. Mu Tong paled in shock. How could this be possible? Her full blow was resolved by that woman just like that, and that wall of fire didn't disappear. It rolled over Mu Tong's head with lightning speed, attempting to engulf her together. Mu Tong, in her array, she is the controller, don't continue to act and humiliate yourself. Ji Yu jumped in front of Mu Tong and swung a golden sword light out. The wall of fire that erupted rapidly was split in half and was completely wiped out in front of Mu Tong. No matter what, Mu Tong was his betrothed. Her arrogant and domineering personality was also once his favorite. They already had the experience between husband and wife 3, plus Mu Tong's status in the Mu clan, so he naturally couldn't watch her die. Lu Muyan, do you want to completely forge a feud between us? Lu Muyan saw the hidden grim killing intent in Ji Ye's eyes. Her fingers wound around a strand of hair, playing about, as her red lips parted lightly. Are you saying we haven't completely forged a feud already? Are you saying we haven't completely forged a feud already? Lu Muyan's voice was serene and slow, flowing like spring water, carrying an arrogance and domineering in her nice voice. Ji Yu let out a chuckle and said with hostility, good. You really are good. A woman from a small and remote kingdom in the eastern region dared to be this arrogant in front of him. He looked up at Lu Muyan with eyes filled with grimness and ruthlessness. Do you think that with this array alone, you can kill us? You can try. Lu Muyan looked at him carefreely while playing with her strand of hair, as if she didn't care for Ji Yu and the others at all. You truly are very conceited. Ji Yu beckoned with a wave of his hand, and 2 dark golden scimitars appeared in both hands. Luo Li killed the last demonic beast within his 4 walls, and a layer of coldness rose on his eyes. Ji Yu, you dare to try to touch her? Sinan said slovenly, Ji Yu, Lu Muyan has now been included within the protection scope of this master. If you want to touch her, don't regret it. Although Helian Lai liked to play safe and protect himself, but Lu Muyan had already become an ally, so he naturally wouldn't sit idly by. Lu Muyan is already allied with us. If you want to touch her, you have to pass us first. Luo Yi didn't say a word, but he had already shown his attitude when he landed in front of Lu Muyan with a flash. Although Yun Zmo and the others weren't as strong as them, but they were all ready to fight at any time, advancing or retreating together with Lu Muyan. Ji Ye's face was terrifyingly grim. He didn't expect Lu Muyan, this woman, to have such power to rally supporters in only a few days. Remembering the array she was using now, an understanding flashed across his eyes. These people were all sounding great by saying it was because of the alliance, but they probably couldn't part with Lu Muyan's array to trap demonic beasts if she died. Let's go. Ji Yu had deep scheming and wasn't an impulsive person. With these people working together, they had practically no chance of winning. The humiliation he received from these people today, he would definitely repay it many-fold another day. Mu Tong wanted to speak, but was stopped by his cold look. The others also had killing intent towards Lu Muyan, but was also secretly annoyed by Mu Tong. Whenever she saw a sword master who wasn't from a superpower kingdom, she just wanted to step on them a bit. Although unwilling, but they had no other choice. Lu Muyan was guarded by Luo Yi and Sinan. They weren't their opponents at all. If they remained, they would only lose more faith. Ji Yu and the others didn't remain any longer. They turned and returned from the direction they came, with killing intent in their eyes for their humiliation. Lu Muyen released the strand of hair she was playing with, her eyes as deep as the sea. This Ji is very flexible, he will be a tough enemy in the future. Lu Muyen said. Mo Yan's cold black eyes were filled with killing intent, just kill him before the end of the competition. Well, do it secretly. Lu Muyen nodded, the killing intent in her heart spreading. If one forged a feud against elite pupils of superpower kingdoms, and if they couldn't kill them within the competition space, then after going out, Yanzhou Kingdom would definitely suffer revenge from Ji Yu and Mu Tong. Of course, she wouldn't be stupid enough to kill those people in public. She would just wait until there was a chance to assassinate them, so that the imperial family surname Ji couldn't even find a reason to suppress Yanzhou Kingdom. The teams below, listen up. I not only need to use magic tools to arrange the array, but I also need to consume elemental energy and pills. If you want to use my fire array to kill demonic beasts and earn points, I will not chase you away. Lu Muyan's face was indifferent, and her manner was cold, but you must hand over 2/3 of the demonic beast's crystal cores you obtained from killing the demonic beasts as cost for renting the array. If you don't want to hand over your crystal cores, then leave immediately. If you attempt to get things for free, then Si Nan's sword won't leave you alive. Si Nan twitched the corners of his lips. What did she mean that his sword wouldn't leave them alive? Why didn't she involve Luo Li or Helian Lai? He sure discovered something. This woman didn't only just sought revenge for a single angry look, she was also petty. Didn't he just say a few words to test her that day? Did she have to remember it and take revenge on him? But he didn't say anything against her. He was deeply interested in her right now, so it was fine to be used as a sword. Luo Li fixedly stared at the arrogant and domineering Lu Muyen, his eyes even more fiery with desire. He just liked her arrogance and domineering. Mo Ling wanted to make it up to her a little to begin with. Upon hearing her say that, he felt that it was how it should be. Sure. With Mo Ling taking the lead, people from other large or medium, small kingdoms also didn't dare to object. Si Nan, that capricious abnormal monster wasn't someone they could afford to offend. Right now, points were the most important. Although 2/3 of the demonic beast's crystal cores did make their heart hurt, but they didn't absolutely need it. We agree. Not one group left. They even wanted to just follow Lu Muyen and her group like this. The efficacy of killing beasts in beast tides was much faster than during the daytime. Then continue. Lu Muyen smiled with satisfaction. Her smile was soul-stirring, but it made many people's eyelids twitch. This woman sure changed her face quickly. Because this wave of demonic beasts was composed of tier 6 demonic beasts, even with the support of Lu Muyen's array, it was still a bit time-consuming and laborious. When there was still only 1/3 of the demonic beasts left, the 2 transformation stage demon cultivators in the air finally acted. Interesting. I've long heard that there was a human who used arrays to specifically find the beast tides gathered by our race to kill. Seeing it today truly is extraordinary. A man with one antenna on his head appeared above the fire array, staring at Lu Muyen with cold eyes. Another burly, green-haired man licked the corner of his lips and let out a laugh. This is the first time I've seen a human sword master with a physique comparable to that of a demonic beast. I sure want to experience it a bit today. The two stared at their target, Lu Muyen. After watching the battle for so long, they discovered that this woman was definitely a big threat if not removed. In addition, the close-quarters combat power she displayed also made the 2 demon cultivators a little interested, and their fighting spirit was strong. Your opponent is me. Luo Yi took a step forward, holding a silver longsword in his hand. The shadow of his tall and straight figure stretched long under the moonlight. Si Nan curled his lips into a smile and flew up, landing beside Lu Muyen. Sure. I would also like to experience the stone skin skill of a mountain-moving beast. The fighting intent in Lu Muyen's eyes was no weaker than the 2 demonic beasts opposite. She just happened to want to borrow the suppressing effect of high-level opponents to break through the bottleneck between Sword King and Sword Monarch, so she would be happy to accompany this opportunity that came to her door. Si Nan and the others were stunned for a bit. He turned his head to look at her with a complicated expression and said, "Don't try to show off your ability, leave it to me." Lu Muyen saw that the look of concern in his eyes didn't seem to be fake, and he was also acting rather responsible to want to share her burden, so no need. I can handle it. If I lose, then you can go up. Huh, what a savage woman. I just like it so spicy, so flavorful. The burly man laughed a few times. If you lose, how about you follow me back to be the mistress of my fort? Hearing the demon cultivator's words, Luo Li and Si Nan's face instantly darkened. In front of the crystal wall in the central castle, there still sat the elders of the several major sects. Sitting in the innermost side, when the white-clothed beautiful man heard the burly man's words, a killing intent flashed across his eyes.